As many of you know, I have been gardening for years, but Iris still managed to surprise me with how beautiful they are and how easy they are to grow. So today's video is all about the iris. Are you ready to learn some things? Well, let's get into it. Who's ready to dig into some iris and talk about how to have great iris year after year after year? They really are a stunner in your garden in the spring, and I highly recommend, if you don't have iris in your garden, to get some. You know, as I was touring my garden and kind of assessing things this year, I went around and I realized I really have a summer garden. I think it's because I'm so busy in the spring at the garden center. I don't always have an opportunity to get spring blooming things into the garden outside of bulbs. Now, I am going to be planting more bulbs this year, and that's for another video. But today we're going to talk about the amazing iris. I know, I got all of these different iris from Sutton Iris Garden, and the reason I bought them was, I watched that video that Laura did back at the beginning of June when they went to visit this garden, and I immediately got on the internet and I ordered some, and I'm so happy that I did because I think they sold out like within 48 hours. So I have a nice little collection of iris that we're going to be adding to the garden. So I'm going to go over the iris that I'm actually going to put in the garden, but we're going to talk about what do you need to do to plant iris so that they're healthy, they get going, and they come back strong year after year after year. So that's what today's video is about. Welcome if you're new. If you like our video, please subscribe down below. And without further ado, we're just going to jump right in. It's iris time. That is one ugly looking plant right now, but it's going to turn into something absolutely beautiful. There's a few reasons why you want to add iris to your garden. One being they're low maintenance. When you think about the maintenance that some other perennials take, these are pretty easy. They're also very drought tolerant once you get them established. Now, I'm going to have to water them going into the rest of the year and going into spring of next year, and it can be a little tricky, but we'll talk about how to get them going. But they also give you the gift of more. So I ordered one of each variety of iris that I received because I'm going to get these to multiply. This is a rhizome, and this little rhizome is going to make baby rhizomes, and you can break them off and plant them someplace else or gift them to somebody else, or just get a bigger clump in your garden. They're absolutely fabulous. The other thing with iris, I bought rebloomers. So not only are these going to bloom in late spring, early summer, because the blooming times vary from iris to iris, but they're also going to rebloom for me in the fall. Oh yeah, I'm pretty excited to add these to the garden. I bought all of my iris from Iris Sutton Gardens, and if this is a company that you're thinking about ordering iris from, well, you're not going to be able to order them this year. You can probably get on their website and look at all the different iris they have and dream about what you want to order, but they are completely sold out for the 2025 season. But you're not out of luck. You can certainly get on there and look at all the iris they have and dream about what you want to order and put in your garden. And then you're going to put a reminder in your calendar. I would put the reminder sometime between the middle of May and the beginning of June, go order iris. Now, I would recommend this company based on the selection that I saw that I was able to choose from and the quality of the rhizome that I got. So this is the first time I've ever gotten product from them, so I don't know what the end results will be, but the rhizomes look and feel really healthy. So at this point, I would recommend them. Just put the reminder in your calendar and go do it next year. Iris are pretty easy to grow, but there's a few guidelines that you have to follow. First, they're gonna grow in zone 3 through 9. At least most of them do. So that's a pretty good growing range. The further north you go, the more sun they're gonna need. The further south you go, the more protection they're going to need from the hot afternoon sun. But all iris need at least 6 hours a day to produce flowers for you and put on that beautiful, stunning show that you're looking for. Typically, iris are planted in July, August, and September. They need some time to settle into the ground and get their roots going before we go into winter. So if you are in zone 3 or 4, you're really on the tail end of when you can plant iris. And in some places, it might be a risk to do it this late. For me, I'm in zone 5. And if I have to be 6 weeks in front of my first frost date, which is October 12th, let's see, count backwards. Yeah, that's September 1st. That means I have to get them all in the ground by this weekend, because today is August 28th. Now I only have 19 to plant, which I'll get that done no problem. But just know they need time to settle in. If you don't know when your average first frost date is, all you have to do is do a Google search and just type in, when is my average first frost date, and then put your zip code in. It'll tell you. You want to be 6 weeks in front of that, getting your iris in the ground so that they have time to get established. I ordered 19 iris, and so I thought I'd quickly go through the ones that I ordered so you could see what I'm going to add to my garden. I ended up just ordering the starter pack and the reblooming pack. In each one of those, I got 9 iris, and that was a good start for me. That's 18 different iris that I'm adding to my garden. When they come in, they've been cut back right here, because if this was a really tall stem and you tried to put this in the ground, they would fall over. But they also have a really good root system on them, and they even have some starts on a few of these. Some of them are bigger than others. Some of them are singles and there's no starts, but iris multiply pretty fast. I'm gonna throw up a picture of an iris on the screen. That way we can talk about what the different parts of the flower are called. That way when I say it, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so the flower part that goes up, that is called the standard. Okay, so all of the petals in the middle. The petals that fall like this, those are called the falls. Now it's called a bearded iris because in the center, right before the falls start to fall and where the petals go up, there is a little frilly piece in there, and that is the beard. So that's why you can call them bearded iris, and that's how you can distinguish those iris from other iris. We're going to go over the bearded iris collection first. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. I will give you as much information as I have about each of these iris. I've never grown any of these, so I don't know how they perform. I am basically going to give you the information that I found on the Iris Sutton website. Some iris had more information than others, so I might not give you whether or not it blooms early or late because it didn't say. I might not tell you how tall it grows because it didn't say. So I'll give you the information I have. Now I did print little pictures and I wrote them down, and I'm gonna throw the picture up, but I did this for me. There's no way I'm gonna remember 19 new iris and exactly what they look like. Well, maybe what they look like, but I won't remember their names. We're gonna go around when we plant them, and I'm gonna put flags. And I'm going to write the names on the flags as I get them in the ground. Today, you're going to see me plant one. You do not need to see me plant 19 iris over and over and over again. When I do the September tour, I'll kind of show you where I put the flags and where they got planted. All right, so let's just talk about the ones that were put in the ground so you can see what I added to my collection. This first one is very interesting. It's called Cordoban Leather. It's an early to mid bloomer, getting about 35 inches high. It has brown standards that are flushed red violet right around mid rib. It has rich, velvety, deep, dark burgundy falls, and then there's a lighter edge on there at the tip of the fall. All right, the next one is called Double Shot. That is a beautiful purple and white iris. I think it's a pretty common iris. The upper petals are white with a violet blue edge. The falls are white and they have a striped violet blue, I guess, veining running through there, with it getting more like of that solid purple towards the edge of the fall. I like this next one too. It's called Serrano, and this is the one where they actually gave me 2, so that's kind of cool. I don't know if I'm going to split them up or put them together. We'll see. But this one is an early to mid bloomer, and it's going to get about 34 inches high. It has golden yellow standards that are serrated and edged in a thin burgundy wire rim right at the end. It's got very dark ruby red falls that appear near black. It's got a 1-inch golden band at the edge of the falls, and that kind of finishes it off on that ruffle on the end. So I like the contrast of this. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out in my landscape. Power Ballard, that's the name of this one. It's a late bloomer, getting about 36 inches tall, white standards, flushed yellow-orange up the mid-rib. It has medium violet falls and a slightly lighter orange beard. Now remember, the beard is towards the center, and it's the little ruffle piece that's between the standards that go up and the falls that go down. So I think it's interesting that they have that really pretty kind of soft yellow color, even though in this picture it kind of looks peach. We'll see if it turns out peach or yellow. A really pretty iris. I'm liking this one a lot. This is a mid to late bloomer that gets about 36 inches high. It's called Sonic Blast. It's got off-white standards that are flushed with yellow. White falls are yellow in the throat, and then they blend to white, and then they turn purple as you go further and further out into the fall. Absolutely gorgeous. I do not know if I'm saying this right, but I think it's Mama Quell. This is actually an award-winning iris. It's won multiple awards. It's a really heavy bloomer. I've seen this one out in the gardens that I've toured. It's a really nice iris. And I would say if you want an iris that's a showstopper, this is one definitely to think about adding to your garden. 37 inches high. It's going to get white standards with pale pink flush up the midrid. It's got orange beards and then white falls. This is a late to very late bloomer, so I probably won't even see this one in my garden until probably June. Another mid to late bloomer that gets about 36 inches high is the Fizzed Out. It's got pale yellow standards that show up much darker at the edges, and they're very lacy. So for an iris, this is considered very frilly and very lacy, which is not very common. It's got wide white falls that are veined like a gray green, and then they fall down into that yellow margin. So this is supposed to be like a very unusual iris, and so I can't wait to see this one in my garden. Workaround is also a mid to late season bloomer that's 36 inches. It's an interesting color. This is a smoky purple, and it has violet falls with a red purple band at the edges. So yeah, I can't wait to see this one too. I did end up getting one 2025 iris introduction in my collection, so that was kind of cool. And it's called Rooted in Tradition. It's big, ruffly, and pastel. It's got light yellow standards that are subtly contrasted with pale yellow white falls that have slightly darker edges. It has tangerine beards. Now when I look at this picture, I see peach, so it's saying light yellow. So we'll see where that falls when it comes up in the spring. That was everything in the starter pack. Now let's talk about the reblooming iris. These reblooming iris bloom different times in the spring, and some of them are repeat bloomers throughout the spring. Most of them, if you recharge them and they get enough sun, they will rebloom for you in the fall. I think there's one in the collection that says that it only blooms in the lower zones. I still left it in my rebloom collection, but we'll see if it actually does rebloom when it's time for it to do that. The first one being Struck Twice. Struck Twice is an early through late bloomer, which means it's repeat blooming through the spring season. The standards are white, and then it's pink at the midrib. It lightens with age, and the beards are a mandarin red. I do like the contrasting ones. They're kind of interesting. So this one is called Blatant. The standards are yellow and the falls are burgundy. That's all I got in the description, but it's very cool looking. I was really liking this one. It's called Snow Day. It gets 34 inches high, and it's a mid to late season bloomer. It has pristine white standards and falls that are wide and ruffled. White falls are veined light blue, and they gradually blend into a soft blue edge. I think it's perfectly named Snow Day. Really liking this one. This is also the one that they're saying that it only reblooms in the warmer climates, which is kind of a bummer for me because I would really like this one to rebloom. We're going to try to put this one in the ideal position, maybe in a little microclimate that I've created, so that we get the best shot of maybe getting it to rebloom. This is a nice yellow iris. I love the deep and saturated color of this. The standards are called barium yellow, and the falls are called Naples yellow. And then it does have white spots throughout it. Oh, it rained last night, and the wind just made all of the water from the tree fall on my head. Okay, but I love the saturated color of this, and that it's all one color, because this is going to be cool planted up against something that will contrast against it. It's interesting how some of the iris descriptions gave you a lot of information and some gave you very little. So all of the information on this one, called Again and Again, was that it was a medium yellow. But it does have a little bit of white up there at the top of the falls. And I think this one is another one that I'm going to like because it's more of that pastel color. And I'm showing you the next one next because I think these two will probably go together in the garden. I will have to take a chance on that again and again medium yellow iris because it doesn't say how tall it gets. So I'm going to hedge my bets and plant that one towards the back, but I'm going to put this one in front of it. This is a shorter iris, only 22 inches high. It's called Revitalize. And look at that saturated purple standard, and the falls are slightly darker and they look like that rich velvet color. I think this is going to be a great one. And they did say in the description on this one that it's very quick to multiply and form big clumps. This is an interesting looking iris. I like the multicolored ones too. So this one is Interstellar. It's a mid to late bloomer growing about 33 inches high. It has pale yellow with a slight apricot flush on the standards, and then a white base with yellow veining and purple banding on the falls. If you look at the very edge of the falls, it's got like a gray orange rim on that. So yeah, liking this one too. A beautiful iris called Peggy Sue has beautiful pink standards and falls. I think it leans a little bit towards that apricot color. So this one will absolutely be wonderful to contrast with something in the garden. This is a, oh my goodness, it doesn't say. So I don't know how tall it gets and I don't know when it blooms. Our last iris is called Raspberry Frost. I think this is a pretty common iris as well. It's got white falls and it's dotted with raspberry patterns throughout. An absolutely classic iris. It's gonna look good somewhere in my garden as well. That is all the iris that I got. How exciting is it to introduce 19 new plants into your garden? This is going to be so fun figuring out where they're going to go. All right, we are going to go plant one right now and talk about what do you need to do to have successful iris growth and successful iris, taking off in the garden. Now is also the time, if you want to transplant your iris, you could do it as well. Again, make sure that you're going to give it 6 weeks of growth time, at least that much, before you go into your first, we're talking hard frost, you guys, and that's 28 degrees or lower. If you get a day in there that's 32 degrees or 34 degrees and they're here and there, it's not going to kill your iris. We're talking hard frost, okay? So you still have time to get this done. And if you have iris you want to split, now's a good time to do it. It's also a good time to check the health of your iris bulbs. I did a video last year and I will link it down below. It was when we installed the fence at Tracy's house and I dug up her iris and I went through her iris bulbs looking for the health of the iris, and I talked about that. I was able to show borers in the iris and everything. While the guys continue to put the edging in, we are going to thin the iris. It's one of the things that Tracy wanted us to do. So she wants to put them back in. She just doesn't want as many. And over time, these will, again, multiply. Now, an iris is a rhizome. So you can see here, here's a nice long rhizome right here. It's got some healthy roots on it. These are all really super firm, and that's what you're looking for when you dig up the iris, is are they firm? Are they mushy? Do they have holes in them where borers maybe went through them? And so you're looking for the health and the viability of your rhizome. Now, I can take this and I can snap this in half and see I can get 2 little ones instead. Now, one of the things you want to do when you have a rhizome for an iris and you're going to put it back in the ground is you do want to cut it into little stubs just like this. And then we're going to put these back in the ground. So we're going to get these all prepped. All right, here's an example of a rhizome here. See how it's got this hole in it right there? See, right there. And so I think that a borer might have got in there. It's a little bit soft. We're going to cut it open just so I can kind of see what the inside looks like. Oh, yeah. Ooh, and it's right there. Can you see the little worm in there? There he is. There's the little borer, and here's the damage that he does inside the rhizome. So this is definitely one that we don't want to put back in there. All right, so there's my borer worm that's in there. So that's the larvae that's in there, and they bore a hole, and so that's what you're looking for when you clean your irises out. If you get the borers, you want to try and get them out as much as possible. So I pulled this out of a pretty big patch, so there's probably more in there. So it is a good thing that we're thinning these out. My driveway bed is definitely one of the beds that doesn't have a lot of spring in it. It is a fantastic summer bed, and we added some things to it last year to kind of improve the color palette that was in it because there was a lot of green. So I have decided that I'm going to add an iris into this bed, and I might end up adding maybe 3 different ones in here, but I am going to add the Cordoban leather. So that one is really interesting looking. It's a darker looking iris. Got my little rhizome right here, and they did label that rhizome for me. Now, this is not a bulb. So you guys, if you're thinking it's a bulb, that's not what it is. It's actually called a rhizome. These are the fans coming out right here, and these are your roots. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna prep the soil, and we're gonna put this in the ground and spread these little roots out, and we're gonna have it kind of on the top of the surface. Now, if you have really heavy clay soil, what I would recommend you do is you kind of dig your area up, and then you're gonna mix in compost. That way this is setting in better soil, but it's going to allow it to drain better. You don't want to plant this too deep. That's probably the number one thing that people do wrong, is they plant these too deep. Now, if you're further in the south where this is going to be in hot blazing sun, we're talking zone probably 7, 8, and 9. You actually need to get this about 1 inch in the ground, but you don't want to get the dirt up on the fans. Let me move this little guy right here. So you don't want to get the dirt up above this area right here. You need to protect the rhizome down south so you don't burn it. So you're gonna plant yours just a little bit deeper. I'm gonna plant mine a little bit higher because I'm in the north. I'm also planting this in an east bed. So this is gonna get at least 6 hours of sun, because even though I have a maple tree here, it's gonna be planted closer towards the driveway, and it's not shaded until about right around 2 o'clock. So that's still anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sun. So this guy will be totally happy there. So I'm going to kind of stand and assess where I want this color in the spring. And one good thing I always tell everyone to do is chronicle your garden. Take pictures of it. Do a little video so you have what each season looks like, and you can go back and recall, remember in the spring I said I needed color, but you're not quite sure where. So I'm really glad I do that in my garden. We are looking in the bed right now, and the daylilies are summer bloomers. And then I have these beautiful hostas here, and this is the new barberry that we planted right here. So you look round, round, round. So I think I want something strappy right here. This is just a Sedona bowl that I put in there for this year. And I look at all the round shapes in here, and I think I want something that has a taller, wider, strappier foliage on it, and then have that beautiful color in there. I pull up right here every single day, and I'll see these, and I think they're definitely going to make me smile. So we're going to pull the Sedona bowl. I'll just put it someplace else, and that is where we're going to put the iris. I've dug my hole, and I want to plant it so the tops of the rhizome are slightly covered and the roots are spread out facing downward in the soil. Now, if you're in a very hot climate, remember, go about 1 inch below, but don't put dirt on the top of the fans. All right? We want to make sure that we have the proper depth. Now, I do have heavy clay, and you can see here I've dug out just a little bit of a hole there. I'm going to add compost in here, okay? So I'm going to mix some native soil in there. I've got a nice hole going on. Now that I've added my compost and mixed it in, I'm going to add a little biotone starter fertilizer because it has the microrhizomes in it that will help the roots get going. All right, now I'm not adding a high nitrogen fertilizer or any other fertilizer. I don't want to push a lot of growth. I just want the roots to get going. So I nestle that in there, and I barely cover it up. Okay, make sure that those roots are down in the ground. See how I don't have dirt up on the fans here? Okay, and then I'm going to push my mulch that I pulled away back over the top of it. All right, that's it. It's that easy. Newly planted iris actually need moisture to encourage that root growth, but you want to make sure you don't overwater them. If you overwater them, you can actually cause that rhizome to rot. And so I am going to water it right now just to settle it in and to give those roots something to drink. A deeper watering is way better than shallow watering. So I'm not going to water this again. Maybe once a week. I'll check it if we're not getting rain. But remember, deeper is better than more often. If you water it every day or too much, I guarantee you, you will rot that thing out. So once they're established, iris don't really need any water at all. So by the time I get into fall of next year, I shouldn't be having to add any supplement water to these. Here's my little cutie. I just love this. It's going to have that dark iris on there when it blooms. Now, this is not a rebloomer. I'm okay with this one only blooming that one time. Now, if I have a reblooming iris, they actually need a touch more water in the spring when they first come up. So if you have a wet spring, you're probably good. If you have a dry spring, you're going to have to add supplemental water. The other thing is, if reblooming iris don't receive moisture over a 3-week period of time, anytime during the summer, you're going to have trouble getting them to rebloom in the fall. So the moisture is really important to those rebloomers. The other thing you need to do, let me tell you that. Iris need to be fertilized in the spring about 6 weeks before they bloom. Usually a 6-10-10 is a good fertilizer to use. And so 6 weeks before they bloom, which is usually like the end of May, beginning of June, usually takes you to the beginning of May or maybe Easter time if it's in April. That is a good signal to remember to get out there and fertilize them. Now, after you transplant or you plant new ones in the fall, I would do what I just did and use a starter fertilizer like a biotone that you can put right in the hole. That way, they've got mycorrhizomes that'll get those roots going. Now, if you're going to use a synthetic fertilizer, do not throw that in the hole. That's going to go on top and it'll work its way into the soil. If you throw that right in the hole, you can burn your rhizome and burn your roots. So the biotone is an organic fertilizer. It's a lot more mild, so you can get away with doing that. Now, if you have a reblooming iris, after they're done blooming in the spring, you definitely want to cut back all of the spent flower stalks all the way down to the bottom. You're doing this because that rhizome is re-energizing, taking in water, taking in sun, so that it can produce more flowers for you in the fall. It will also be the time when you need to re-fertilize again those reblooming iris. If you do those things with your reblooming iris, you're fertilizing when they're done blooming with a 6-10-10 or something like that. You're cutting back the spent flowers all the way to the base, and you're making sure that they get a little bit of extra water, and do not let them go more than 3 weeks without any water. Then you will have good luck probably having those rebloom in the fall. The 2 things to avoid that will spell disaster: don't overwater your bulbs and rot them out. Deeper watering longer is better than shallow watering every day. And don't use a high nitrogen fertilizer when you're fertilizing. You'll push beautiful green growth and you'll have big fans coming up out of there and no flowers. So make sure you follow the recommendations of the 6-10-10 or something like that, where the first number is lower than the second 2 when you're fertilizing your iris. Oh, and if you can get your hands on some alfalfa pellets, those are actually really good to work into the soil around your newly planted rhizomes. Now, if you're transplanting iris, the only thing that you're going to do different is, right now your iris are this tall. Get your clippers out and cut those iris back so that they're little bitty stubs. Don't be afraid, do it. You won't kill them. It'll be okay. All right, I'm off to Menards. I want to get some little white flags so that I can mark where all of them are going to go. I thought I had some out in the she shed, but I must have used them all. So I'm going to run and grab some more of those, and then I'm going to place all of my iris. I think that's going to be the fun part, is figuring out where I want to put them. All right, so that's all I've got for today, you guys. Don't forget, Garden Gab is this Saturday. It's viewer submission picture episode. If you haven't submitted your picture for August, you're too late. So any pictures going in now will go to the September Garden Gab. Garden Gab, we have twice a month. For those of you that don't know what it is, it's where we talk about the garden in the garden. The first Garden Gab is when I talk about the videos and I answer questions or general things that I see come up over and over and over again. The second video, which is always the last Saturday of the month when we're doing them, is viewer submission pictures, and you send something of your garden. And what you do is you take it in a landscape format. You tell us who you are, where you live, what we're looking at, and what zone it is. You send those to the email address right here, and then we share those pictures during Garden Gab. So September will be the last one for the year. We'll still have a Garden Gab maybe once a quarter going through winter, just to answer questions, gab, and keep up. But then we'll pick it back up again next year, and we'll either do it in this format or we'll try something new. All right, so stay tuned Saturday. I cannot wait to share the viewer submission pictures with you. And again, if you made it this far into the video and you liked it and you want to see more, subscribe right there, you guys. All you're doing is helping the channel and helping us create more videos for you. So if you want to be educated, inspired, and entertained, you're in the right place. All right, I hope you get your hands in the dirt today. I am Michelle, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.